be talking about Langston Hughes, who is the writer of the poem we'll be discussing, and I'll be talking about his relevance and contribution to the Renaissance.
And I will be analyzing one of his famous poems, I Too Sing America.
Okay, so where lies Harlem? Harlem lies in America, in the state New York. This is Harlem, this part of Upper Manhattan, and which before, in around the 1900s, was the poorer part of New York, whereas now, as some of you may know, Manhattan is quite rich. Harlem then. Harlem was named after Haarlem in Holland, which I think is North Holland or something like that. So black residents began to arrive there in 1905, and the numbers were fed by the Great Migration. African Americans began to arrive more in 1910. That made Harlem one of the largest black communities, with huge centers and business, cultural and business centers there, raised by black men there. In the 1920s, the flowering of African American art and literature, also known as the Harlem Renaissance, started there. The Con Club started there too.
Well, the Con Club was sort of like a pub. It was extremely popular, and it was where only white people were allowed to go. Colored people would be there to perform, and jazz music was incredibly popular at that time. And they would publicly embarrass the colored people and make them feed them old stuff.
Okay, then from the 1920s till the 1930s, Harlem was focused on the Harlem Renaissance, but with job losses and the time of the Great Depression and deindustrialization, after World War II, the rates of crime and poverty increased massively. These rates are still up today, but are decreasing slowly. Harlem now. Harlem still suffers from many social problems, however not as much as they did back around the Harlem Renaissance. The large proportion of the population of Harlem receives a form of income support, which is money support you get when you aren't able to find any jobs or anything. At least half the population benefits from these. Harlem is known to the common team for the Harlem Shake.
Langston Hughes. Well, Langston Hughes was the writer of this poem, and basically, Langston Hughes said that he saw the world as a pretty dark place because there's a lot of racism, a lot of discrimination, and he wrote poems about the way he wanted to see the world and how he wanted the future world to be. Well, the influence that Langston Hughes had. Langston Hughes was not the only one that had an influence on the Renaissance, but along with 20 other poets who were all colored, this is a few famous ones, and all of them wrote about racism and how they felt, basically. This is, as you can see, this is a club where only colored people are. And Langston Hughes, as I said, he wrote about how he wanted to see the world, and I Too clearly portrays this, which is what Bente will be talking about later. And he talks about how he'll keep his head up and he won't give up. Yeah, he wants to see a bright future. And today we know of a world that is mostly no one is racist, and people are really happy now. And these are his ashes that are underneath this, and this is an important place in Harlem. So now we know that he is quite respected now because he stood up along with other poets.
I Too Sing America, Langston Hughes. I too sing America. I am the darker brother. They send me to eat in the kitchen when company comes. But I laugh and eat well and grow strong. Tomorrow I'll be at the table when company comes. Nobody dared say me, eat in the kitchen, then. Besides, they'll see how beautiful I am and be ashamed. I too am America.
So I'm going to be talking about what it actually is saying. And in the first line you see, I too sing America. During this time, the slaves were not treated with the equal rights as other people who sang the American national anthem. he's trying to make a point that he too is America and he too sings the national anthem, just like them, making them equal to every other race or color that sings the same anthem. Then you have I'm the darker brother. They send me to eat in the kitchen when company comes. This is actually talking about slavery. Darker brother refers to basically he's the slave of the family. And every time they get a company or basically a more sophisticated group, they send him to eat in the kitchen so he doesn't embarrass them or anything. And and then we have spirit. He says, but I laugh and eat well and grow strong. So basically what he's saying is he's not fazed by his master sending him to the kitchen because first of all he's used to it, and second of all he knows that there will be a bright future ahead for them. Then he's also talking about standing up because he says that when the company comes, he'll still be at the table. And basically he's saying that he's not going to obey the orders from the more sophisticated group. And when the neglect and recognition comes, from besides you'll see how beautiful I am, be ashamed, that when he does sit at the table and the company comes, they'll see how much they neglected that the black man was just as beautiful as the white man, and they'll be ashamed of how they treated him. And then they repeat the line, I too am America, except they change one thing, and I too refers to different races, which basically means that black people, just like any other race or color, is America. That they belong there and they're equal to other Americans.
Well, a lot of this poem is repetition. Basically, we see here that I too, saying America, is written here. The same is written here, and also it's written here. Basically, what happens is that it emphasizes the fact that he also is American. He looks different, but he's American from the inside. And it also adds a steady rhythm.
This whole poem is actually a whole metaphor, an extended metaphor for racism. As you can see here, when he says tomorrow that he'll be at the table, he's actually talking about in the future. Basically, he's saying that right now, he's still being sent away, but somewhere in the future, someone's going to stand up for what's right, and they're going to make a change, and that they won't be they won't be showed by the color of the skin. They won't be worth less because they're black, or you won't be worth more because you're white, and that people will be ashamed of how they treat them, and then finally everyone will be equal in the future.
Does anyone have any questions about the poem or about the presentation?